Oh, what a beautiful week this has been. Welcome to Hippie Hyena. The American election is over, and if you can't say the good guys won, because they sort of didn't, the bad guys definitely lost, and that is gorgeous. And what is even more delicious is the salty, salty tears of the right-wing online chuds who've been literally bawling and crying and gnashing their teeth and wailing and doing all sorts of other odd things, like, weirdly, deciding to get sex changes, which is one reaction I just didn't see coming. Let me narrate this for you. At this point, I'm going to start taking estrogen, since there's no point anymore. The cow god worshipping Satanists won, and the only logical choice is to live a life of hedonism, so that they'll ignore me and not put me into a re-education centre when the day comes that they take over completely. You win. Congrats. I hope it was worth it. I'm willing to change. I want to be a cute girl. If you're a young male who voted for Trump, this will be the only way to survive Biden's presidency. They will be looking for you. Get a wig, a cute dress, some nice jewellery, a few makeup tutorials, and lay low for the next 4 to 8 years. Your free girl pills and diapers are on the table to your left. I'm so glad you finally decided to indulge your AGP. It's been embarrassing to see you try to deny it. Now, just sit down in one of our sissy hypno stations. You'll forget all about that silly Biden and just think how cute you'll look with double D tits. Since the globalist elites have won and there's no hope left, I've decided just to take the pink pill and transition. At least this way, when the re-education camps come, I can just tell them I'm a trainer and they'll let me go. I'm so depressed. I think I'm going to transition, bros. It feels weird to say it. I've wanted to be a girl for years, but I held back because I thought Donald Trump would make suppressing it worthwhile by making America great again. But he's gone now. Why stay a man? Biden will continue to push trans rights to their extremes. There's no point in fighting anymore. My future is female. Like, whoa. Okay, you do you, bro. You know, if you want to transition, I'll support you on that, I guess. You do what you gotta do to be happy. So, apart from that extremely bizarre seeming trend amongst the right-wingers, what we've largely seen is quite a lot of quite a lot of sucking down on that copium. You know, that delicious salty copium, which has been extremely pleasant and fun to watch, especially those who are in total denial about what's happening to them. And to take a sort of anthropological study, or to be far more honest, indulge in my schadenfreude, I took a little trip over to the festering cauldron of depravity that is BitChute, where the denial levels are well over 3,000. And there I happened upon a little video that I thought I'd like to share with you by a channel over there called SGT Report.
While CBS 60 Minutes picks up tonight where Leslie Stahl's train wreck of an interview with Donald J. Trump last week left off, gaslighting Americans into swallowing the lie that there is no such thing as corruption.
Now, I haven't even seen that interview, but just sheerly from that description, I can tell that that is absolutely total bunk. Total bunk.
Especially when it comes to the sanctity of our hallowed elections. Time magazine is now doing its part with this abomination, A Time to Heal.
I mean, I kind of agree that is sort of an abomination. I mean, I'm no real big fan of Biden, all the sort of centrist liberal nonsense that he represents. And it's not really a time to heal, because the time to heal is after you've cut out the cancer, not when you've just started chemo, if you get my meaning.
Let's not look back. Let's move forward, together for a stronger America and China. Right, Joe? Actually, the cover of Time is correct from the New World Order's point of view. It just has a typo. Time to Heal. H-E-E-L.
Oh, I bet you thought that was really clever. I mean, considering what a massive authoritarian Trump is and how these people actually generally support authoritarianism, it is really weird that the criticisms they level at their political enemies is that they're the ones who are authoritarian. It's almost like, because they keep hearing that being sort of shouted at them, they assume that it's a kind of generalized, legitimate criticism to make of everyone. I mean, the right wing basically invented cancel culture. They're completely uninterested in the freedom of a society or the individual. They're only interested in the freedom of the super rich and corporations. They're interested in the freedom of authorities to terrorize the populace. So that's completely absurd. But more so, what it is totally insane denial, which we'll see very soon.
And leave it to ABC This Week's newsreader and Clinton operative George Stephanopoulos, the director of Bill Clinton's 1992 presidential campaign, who then became Clinton White House communications director, to gaslight his audience.
Clinton, again. Man, they are just absolutely f***ing obsessed with Clinton. You notice that the date was 1992. They've been going on about this for so long. It's so irrelevant now. For God's sake, move on, please. Find a different goddamn meme, because this is just making you look absurd. It's embarrassing, you know. As a lefty, I'd like a sort of legitimate kind of opponent, you know. No, this is just like flipping the weakest nonsense. It's like I feel like I'm trying to box here, and the other person is just sort of flapping about with feathers. It's like, come on, Clinton, really? Still Clinton?
And attempt to bully the stoic, constitution-loving governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, who would have none of it.
This morning, COVID is rising in your state as well. Cases are up, hospitalizations are up, deaths are up. Are you prepared to work with President-elect Biden to get it under control?
Well, it is a regional increase that we're seeing. We are testing more. And frankly, George, I'm not going to take advice from Governor Cuomo. He has the second worst death rate per 100,000 people in this nation. He's at 173 deaths per 100,000 per capita. South Dakota's at 54. I appreciated that President Trump gave us the flexibility to do the right thing in our state, and will continue to do that. He let me do my job. But the other thing that I think is going on here, George, is that this is all premature. This is a premature conversation because we have not finished counting votes.
Brilliant, fresh, juicy denial. It's over, man. It's over. The election is over. Trump lost. Biden won. It's already been called. I mean, there was some guy live tweeting from inside the courtroom of one of these contested areas, and it was just total nonsense. The judge was just basically laughing at the Trump lawyers because of how absurd their claims were. This is completely absurd, and anyone who thinks it, because at the moment there is no evidence to suggest that there has been any, like, unlawful messing with this election. And I mean, quite frankly, if I was Trump, I probably wouldn't be bitching and moaning about interventions in elections after that was basically proved. So it's a bit funny that you should be bringing it up now. But that's always the way. Projection. Everything that the right accuses the left of doing, it's because they almost certainly have done it before, or are about to do it, or are currently engaged in it. I mean, you know, when you face something like this, when you face a colossal and humiliating failure like this, I just think the best thing to do is to grab the plaster and rip it off in one rapid burst. But instead, with all this totally crazy denialism, they're just gonna eke out their own suffering, which is something that I'm actually really quite happy that they're doing, because we don't just get the wailing and gnashing of teeth now after the results of the vote, but we'll get it again and again as their worldview is slowly but surely stripped away from them and shown to be absolute nonsense. It's a glorious thing. It's glorious.
There are states that have not been called, and back in 2000, Al Gore was given his day in court. We should give President Trump his day in court, let the process unfold, because, George, we live in a republic. We are a government that gets its power from the consent of the governed. That is the people. Oh, so you're bravely coming out against the Electoral College then? Because quite frankly, that isn't the case in America. But whatever. It's already happened. It's already happened. It's done. It's finished. It's over. And what will it take? What will it take for them to accept it? Maybe nothing. And that would be even more. Dare I even hope, dare I even dream that they will never accept this? Because imagine the beauty, the absolute shivering pleasure of watching Trump being dragged out by his ankles from the White House as he screams like a toddler who's had his toy taken away. Oh, be still, my beating heart. They give their consent on Election Day. Election Day needs to be fair, honest, and transparent, and we need to be sure that we had an honest election before we decide who gets to be in the White House the next 4 years.
Governor Noem, do you have any evidence that it wasn't an honest election? You had a tweet earlier this week saying it was rigged. Do you have any evidence at all of widespread fraud?
No, she doesn't, because no such evidence exists.
I've spoken with Republican secretaries of state in Georgia. in Arizona. I've spoken to Republican officials across the country. They have come up with zero evidence of widespread fraud.
And that is not true.
Yes it is. And it's absolutely amazing that this is, let's just remind ourselves that this snippet of news is being, I didn't just acquire this direct from the source, this is being shared by right-wingers as if it helps their side. That is literally how delusional they are.
That is absolutely not true. People have signed legal documents, affidavits stating that they saw illegal activities, and that is why we need to have this conversation in court.
Brilliant. So it looks like we could probably get them for perjury or something. I'm pretty sure signing a legal affidavit of something you know to be not true is fraud and probably illegal.
The New York Times itself said that there were clerical errors. If
No
you look at what happened in
widespread
Michigan,
fraud, Governor. That's
that
very
we had
different.
computer glitches that changed Republican votes to Democrat votes. You look in Pennsylvania, dead people voted in Pennsylvania.
No. So, evidence is a bunch of nonsense, made-up conspiracy theories with absolutely no basis in reality whatsoever. Extreme denialism. And you'll notice that although the right wing generally do believe some quite absurd things, it's only going to get more absurd as time goes on because, as I say, the reality has a left-wing bias, and therefore as reality diverges further from their vision of the way the world works, they'll have to come up with more and more elaborate excuses and bizarre assertions to try and square that circle as time goes on.
I just love it. George gets angry, and she says that's absolutely not true. There's evidence of fraud. Affidavits have been signed. Why is everybody so scared to have a fair election?
We already had one, mate. We already had one. Or rather, you already had one. And just because your guy didn't win, that doesn't mean anything, you know? I mean, it's just pure copium denialism. Literally pure copium. There is no substance to this whatsoever. And that's the thing. Nobody's scared to investigate it. It's not to do with being scared. In fact, the investigations are ongoing, you know? But the thing is, you can't just investigate every sort of wild, speculative claim by any dingbat who shows up. There has to be some sort of grounding for that investigation to even take place in the first place. Some sort of something that might lead anyone sensible to be suspicious. And if there is nothing, which there isn't, then it can be dismissed without looking into, because there's no reason to look into it. It's like anyone can just accuse anyone of anything. But it's completely meaningless just because some people say that it's happened. They say that it's happened because they wish that it did happen, because they can't face the reality that it didn't. Now, I could say that the presenter of SGT Report gives out free handjobs to dogs round the backs of ghost trains. Now, I've got no actual evidence, really, apart from I could probably get a couple of other dingbats to claim that it's true, and maybe even sign something if they're willing to throw their lives away in the pursuit of something ridiculous. There's no actual evidence for it, but why are you so scared of it being investigated? Well, nobody is. It would just be a waste of time. Although, having said that, would it be? Because, you know, these sorts of things do go on, and who's to say that he didn't do it? I mean, I would probably argue that maybe we should treat him as guilty until proven innocent. That seems like the right way to go, what with wild, baseless accusations, hey?